Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Very glad you're able to spend some time with us today. It looks like a little bit of sunshine out there. It was actually a beautiful fall morning, wasn't it? The winds were low. The sun was peeking through the clouds and the leaves that are left. Did you notice how many went away during that rainstorm and the wind that we had? The sidewalk out by my house was like inches deep. So that's an indication to me that we lost a lot of leaves. But looking out the window here off into the north end of Halifax, I still see a lot of color out there. So it looks like we're going to at least be able to see that through the weekend unless things change. However, it looks like we're getting some more rain in the forecast. Allister Aalders, who's going to join the program here very shortly, says that we should see some more showers tonight, and then we could see some more rain moving forward. Is it going to be as much as we saw? How much did we see? All of those questions are going to be answered here in a few minutes' time, as I mentioned, when our weather specialist, Allister Aalders, joins the program. Bit of a surprise from Province House yesterday, wasn't it? It's interesting. I was sitting around chatting with my colleagues in the wake of the announcement that Premier Houston was going to shuffle his cabinet. And normally, when something as significant as ministers essentially getting fired is about to happen at Province House, usually that leaks out, right? Usually there's somebody or there's some kind of indication, or, you know, there's some reporting that gets done on it, or somebody says something. But that one was much a surprise to me, as I know it was to many that keep a pretty close eye on what's going on at the provincial legislature. Premier Houston dropping 3 high-profile members of cabinet yesterday, right? The shuffle announced yesterday around 2 o'clock. Premier is now taking over the energy department from Trevor Boudreau. So now he's going to be the Minister for Energy, for Trade, and Intergovernmental Affairs. Always the Premier is the Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs. But apparently the Premier suggesting that he is the person for the job to push this energy file forward. And we know when it comes to energy these days, it has all been about his offshore wind project, right? So he is essentially taking over that role from Trevor Boudreau. Natural Resources Minister Tory Rushton, who you heard here on this program on Monday, fired yesterday. I don't know if that one means 2 or what, but and I'm not making fun of it. It's, you know, when you lose your position, it's not a good day. But Tory Rushton out as the Natural Resources Minister and now replaced by Kim Maslin, who has been in the role of emergency management. I'm wondering, and this is just my thoughts on it, if because of the fire situation and the role that Minister Maslin played in the emergency management angle of that, combining that with natural resources, as we know that this dry weather, this uptick in forest fires and so on and so forth isn't going away with climate change, right? So I'm wondering if that was what was behind that. And Scott Armstrong replacing, this was the one that shocked me the most, Scott Armstrong replacing Becky Drouin as the Attorney General and Justice Minister. Becky Drouin was a star in cabinet and now out. We did reach out to the Premier's office. We did reach out to his communications people here on the program very shortly after that announcement was made public yesterday afternoon to have the Premier, or at least offer the Premier the opportunity to come onto the program to explain these changes to his cabinet and where we go from here and how this moves the province forward. Unfortunately, I have yet to receive a response from the communications people or his handlers, the Premier's handlers down at Province House. Maybe it was a busy day yesterday. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I know it was probably pretty hectic. So hopefully we'll hear from them and we can get somebody on, hopefully the Premier, to explain why he had to make this decision yesterday. Labor strife in HRM again within the academic community. It looks like those represented by CUPE at Mount St. Vincent University are getting ready to hit the picket line. A release last night said that talks failed and they were in a legal strike position as of, I think it was yesterday. And now at noon today, those workers are going to be out. So we will see picket lines at yet another university here in Nova Scotia. If you've been following this story, you know that this isn't the only campus that could face a potential strike. We know that bargaining units at Dow, that are represented by the CUPE Union and bargaining units at St. Mary's are all in the same situation. We're going to bring CUPE onto the show tomorrow. We tried to get them today. Tomorrow is better for them. I would imagine they're in a series of meetings trying to try and get these situations. There's still 2 more bargaining units to go, right? So anyway, we're going to have the CUPE representatives on the show tomorrow to give us an update and where we go from here. I got a bit of a rant this morning. As you know, I've been doing this now, I think, a couple months. I think this is my 38th show. I'm keeping track, by the way, that I've done in the stead for Todd Veinotte as he is off, and I'm having a blast doing it, and I enjoy doing it every day. What I do not enjoy is getting here in the morning. Now, many of you know that my other job is on the other side of the glass, normally driving in at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, never dealt with traffic, right? Very little traffic anyway. And going home, not a lot of traffic around the noon hour or 1 o'clock usually when I get out of here because everybody's kind of where they need to be and are back from lunch. But over the last 38 shows, I have been out in the trenches with y'all. And as I am by nature observant, I've been watching and writing some notes down and monitoring things. And I have to say, and I think many of you out there are going to agree with me, that the driving habits of Haligonians and Dartmouthians and whomever else is on the road is anything short but awful. We talk a lot on this show about traffic congestion. We're looking at spending tens of millions of dollars, rightly or wrongly, on ways to get people out of their cars to what? Get rid of the congestion. But have we looked at the person behind the wheel as part of that solution? I have to tell you, and I've lived in a number of different cities and different provinces throughout my career and my life. The driving habits in Halifax are by far the worst I've seen anywhere in Canada. Now, there are places where, it's more white-knuckly than others. I don't do a lot of driving, haven't done a lot of driving in the big cities like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver. But my experience here, and anecdotally, people speaking that I've spoke with will all say the same thing. People don't know how to merge, and that creates congestion. The amount of distracted driving that I see here is incredible. I don't know how, when you're in a line of traffic that's backed up from Romans Avenue, out the 102, past the Dunbrack exit, how one can be in that traffic and on one's cell phone at the same time. I just don't get it. Speeding is a awful problem. I said this morning, I'm coming in on the 102, coming in towards the Bears Road. That's the route that I normally take. And traffic was starting to back up past the Dunbrack overpass, so the old Northwest Arm overpass, into that bend. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm in the far left lane because the inside lane or the right lane was slowing at a pace. So I got into the left lane and I had my four-ways on, and I was approaching the backup of traffic. 50K maybe, 55K maybe. Somebody blew by me it had to have been at 110. Weaving between the traffic to get ahead 3 cars. Literal skid marks from tires dragging from people hitting their brakes. It wasn't an accident, but it couldn't have been any closer. We talk about out-of-the-box thinking here on this show a lot because status quo for many of the files that we discuss is just not working right. I think that if we're going to seriously address the congestion problem here, aside from rapid transit, aside from active transportation or bike lanes, we need to look at the drivers in HRM. And the way that I think that works is that we do more testing. More police on the roads during those commutes. I never see a police officer on the 102 on my driving in the morning. Never, ever see a police officer there. And more testing. When's the last time you were tested as a driver? Me? I was 16 years old. I got tested in a 1986 Hyundai Pony, which was a little wee car. I drive a much larger vehicle now, and it's been a year or two. We have provisions to test elderly drivers more frequently. Why doesn't that apply to everybody? I know you're going to say, oh, money, tax grab, blah, blah, blah. I've been driving since I was 16. Take a look out there, folks. Why not have more random testing? Or not even random testing? Why not have testing every 5 years? I don't know, pick a date. I did a motorcycle exam very quickly before we go to the break. I did a motorcycle exam about 10 years ago when I started riding again. I had to do my licensing over for that. And I'll tell you what, when I had to write the beginner's test, you know, the one that everybody writes, I had to think a lot. And there were some things I forgot. Why not? If anything, if it teaches people how to merge properly again, wouldn't that fix, at least lighten some of the congestion on the roads? Might be something you want to talk about in the open hour today. We're going to do that, of course, at noon because it is Wednesday. Dr. John will be here at 11 with house calls. We're going to stop, take a break. We're going to get Allister Aalders on the line here. We're going to talk about the weather yesterday and what we can expect going into the weekend. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm calming down. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Seems I have struck a chord with some people with my comments about driving today. Let's hope that those comments are still around at noon when we open up the telephone lines for the open hour. I'm looking forward to that conversation. We had some rain yesterday, and I know it was welcome, and it rained pretty hard, at least in my neighborhood, rained pretty hard, and for several hours. And I know that many of you have been looking for that, and with all of the water restrictions and the dryness in the woods and the dryness in your wells, we know that probably wasn't enough, and we probably need more. And the person that I go to when I need to see what's going on with the weather is our weather specialist, and that is Allister Aalders, and he joins us on the phone today. Allister, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
You and I have talks about zipper merging all the time.
Yes, we have. Oh, back to my traffic
days.
Reporting days there.
Yes. People don't know how to do it, and it drives me bananas. Anyway, don't want to go off on a tangent again. We got some rain yesterday. I know that you were poring over the data this morning when you got up. What kind of rain event was it? Did we get enough?
Well, I mean, it was certainly beneficial. I mean, although I think some would argue that, you know, just given the high rainfall rates we did receive, you know, we would prefer a lighter, steadier rain so that it doesn't necessarily run off. But, I mean, we certainly did have some beneficial totals in the Halifax area. You know, it was a general, you know, depending on where you were, 8 to 15 millimeters, but there were some pockets upwards and in excess of 20 millimeters, and that includes at Halifax Stanfield, where there was about 22 millimeters of rain. So it was certainly the most rain we've seen so far this month in a single day, and certainly much needed rain because obviously it's still been very dry. You know, when you look at the statistics, you know, month to date, you know, places like Halifax, Stanfield have only recorded, in addition to that 22 millimeters, essentially another, 9 or 10 millimeters. They're sitting at about 31, 32 millimeters month to date, and it's similar at Shearwater, where there's only been 21 millimeters month to date. So compare that to the 30-year average of a typical October, where we see 140 millimeters roughly of rain in a given October. We are still well below where we need to be for this time of year, and it just continues this trend that's been ongoing since the summertime. So it was certainly beneficial, very much welcome rain, but we definitely need a lot more to end this rainfall deficit and alleviate the drought conditions. And I know for a lot of people, the concern now is, can we even do that before we head into the winter?
And that's the next question. You and I talked about this on Friday, and people are having big problems with their wells in the rural areas, and we only have a few weeks. I know it's probably at least 10, but we have some weeks left before we get the freeze up, right? And then the water doesn't run at all.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we can certainly hope that the pattern changes and that we get a really rainy November, and maybe even December too. And obviously, we'll be starting to mix possibly some snow events in there that could help. But obviously, the drought just doesn't disappear overnight, or after say we do get a 50 millimeter rainfall event. That doesn't just erase the deficit and the drought. It's going to take really, months of above normal precipitation to put an end to that. And I just think it's really going, I'm not saying that the drought will not improve if we do see a change to the pattern, especially some areas that are considered, extreme or exceptional drought. Maybe they are lifted out of that status. But it's really going to take, I think, a long time, probably into next spring, when we're dealing with, snow melt and then spring weather systems, that we continue to chip away at that, because like you mentioned, the ground is eventually going to freeze up. Now, we've been fairly, I would not say lucky in many cases, because obviously it's a sign of how our climate is changing. The snow has typically been arriving, later each winter, and I know last December we did have 2 decent snowfalls that led to that white Christmas. But I guess maybe one benefit of that, say this year, would be perhaps the ground doesn't freeze as quickly. So maybe we are going into December and the ground is not still completely frozen, and we can absorb some more rainfall and some of that snow. But obviously, like you said, we are going to get to a point where the ground freezes up, and what we do get, doesn't absorb as easily and ends up running off. So we would really like to see a rainy end to the month and a rainy November and a soggy, whether it be rain or snowy December, just to really help. And I know it's not easy, these restrictions, that of having to not just conserve water for people on municipal water, but for people who are on a well, the expense of having to buy water, weekly or bi-weekly, depending on how often you're needing it, foregoing, maybe washing your clothes at home, or, it's a big impact. And for some, this has been ongoing since the summer. So it's a very challenging time, especially for those people. And I know people would just really like to see some relief. So it would just be nice if we could start to see that change come. And as I told you on Friday, I do think we are starting to see the pattern gradually changing. We've had these more rainy events moving through, and cautious optimism that will continue. But obviously, so far with these systems, they've been fairly fast movers. We need these slower and more defined areas of low pressure to move through, producing more than just, say, 10 or 20 millimeters of rain.
Province has bought 700,000 bottles of water so far this year, just to help people with their wells. That's a huge expense. Allister, we know, looking at your forecast, listening to your forecast on my drive in this morning, as I was trying to calm down. It looks like we're going to have a few more of these smaller rain events over the next couple of days.
Yeah, so we have another system approaching to our west today, very similar to the one that moved through yesterday, where unfortunately the center is not really moving through, and it's in somewhat of a dissipating stage. So it is starting to break down, but its associated weather fronts will be moving through tonight. So we see some showers developing in the Halifax area this evening. That could come with some heavier downpours or maybe even a thunderstorm. I know some people did get into a thunderstorm yesterday morning, but it's fast moving. So it moves in this evening and then it's clearing out through the overnight. So, if we can get into the more, repeat heavier showers or a thunderstorm, I would say upwards of 15 millimeters or more, similar to what we just had, if not 2 to 5, perhaps upwards of 10 millimeters. The problem with these systems is that amounts vary considerably, and whether or not you get into those repeat heavier showers or not really dictates how much rain you get, because, compare our 10 to 20 millimeters of rain we had yesterday to the valley where some locations only had 2 to 5.
Right.
So it really just depends on where these heavier showers move through, but it does look like, a general 2 to 10 millimeters, possibly more in those heavier showers or thunderstorms. We're then wedged in a bit of a trough in the jet stream for the end of the week and the upcoming weekend, with high pressure over the Great Lakes and a ridge of high pressure between, Newfoundland and the UK. So that does not really bring a lot of unsettled weather, chances for more isolated showers, possibly on Friday and then again on Saturday, but sunshine is in the mix. And then otherwise, it's looking relatively fair. There are some signs of some disturbances moving in, later next week. And then obviously we're starting to talk about November, hard to believe,
right,
by next weekend. So there's certainly some disturbances that we need to keep an eye on, some chances for rain and showers. But in terms of, those larger systems where the center is moving directly overhead with a good solid rainfall, we just can't seem to get into those yet. So obviously we will start seeing more of those types of low pressure systems develop, because just given the time of year where you have the warmer ocean air battling the cooling continental air, that's the clash of those air masses really where you get these systems to form. So if we can get those to form and then move overhead, we will start to see, I think, more rainfall. It's just taking a bit of time, but I do think we are starting to see some changes to the pattern, and cautious optimism that hopefully we will start to see, more rainfall as we go through November.
Very quickly, Allister, we're almost out of time. A new storm forming in the Caribbean, impacting the Dominican and Jamaica. It's Melissa. I know it's a long way away and it's just forming, but is it any chance it's coming here?
It's really going to be stuck, kind of in that area between Jamaica and parts of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, with weak steering winds. So, as we go through Monday, it's really not going to move a whole lot from that position. There's a lot of uncertainty, which, there's your standard meteorological term for these systems in that range. But there truly is with Melissa. It's quite uncertain if, early to mid next week, the system's able to finally get carried towards, say, the northeast, or maybe it gets pulled a bit farther west in the Caribbean. Right now, it's not a concern for us. If it's something we need to be concerned with, certainly we'll keep an eye on it. But at this point in time, just something to watch. Not seeing anything concerning at this point, but obviously we're talking, well over a week and a half. So there's, not a lot of stock and model guidance for especially a tropical system that far in advance. So we'll certainly keep an eye on it for sure. And if we need to keep an eye on it, we certainly will.
Allister's back on Friday. We'll have more data on that storm and a look at your weekend. Allister, I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, and see you Friday.
That is Allister Aalders, our weather specialist here at 95.7 News Radio. Time to stop and take a break for the news. On the other side of it, do you have a joint account with your spouse or partner? What was almost standard practice years ago not so much anymore. Only 42% of Canadians surveyed have a joint account with their spouse or partner. We're going to dig into that and the Canadian Shared Finances report when we come back. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. Seems that I have struck a chord with y'all. I'm getting lots of emails about my comments about driving and retesting drivers in Nova Scotia. We're going to open up the telephone lines at 12 o'clock today. I hope that some of you that have sent me emails today are going to be around for that and join the conversation. I think it's going to be a good one. And again, as I framed it, we've been talking about congestion. We've been talking about outside the box thinking to fix things. And that includes bus lanes and bike lanes and everything else. Well, why not get people to drive the right way, right? Or remind them how to drive the right way. Maybe that helps to solve some of the congestion problems. Anyway, we'll do that at 12 o'clock today here on the program. As I mentioned before the break, this number kind of shocked me when I read it. And it comes from a new report called the Canadian Shared Finances Report. Now, this was developed by with Angus Reid did the survey, and KOHO put this thing together. Now, there's a lot of data in it, but it found that about 66% of us think that sharing finances is important, right? I don't know how people live on a single income in this city, particularly in Halifax, at all. So shared incomes are almost a must, I think, here. But only 42% of the people surveyed, less than half, have an actual shared or joint account with their spouse or their partner. Very interesting. Very pleased to welcome into the studio today to give us a little bit of a perspective on this. We have the head of consumer trust at KOHO, and that's Faye Lucas. Faye, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. Let's tell everybody what KOHO is. It used to be a hockey stick company in my day.
Yes. Well, that's not the KOHO we're talking about. We are a money app. We serve over 2 million Canadians, and we're focused on providing a spending and savings account and various other products that are non-traditional, I suppose, to the banks.
In 2025, it has become very difficult for one income to be able to afford things, particularly in HRM and in other places across the country when it comes to rents, and many are sharing those expenses. That number really didn't surprise me in the finances report.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've got high unemployment, we've got increased living costs, so I think it means that more people do need to split expenses, it's rent or groceries. And so that's why we wanted to put together a report and just understand how those habits are changing.
42% of respondents, Faye, said that they don't have a joint account with their spouse or their partner. That, I would imagine, is down significantly from 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, I don't have the sort of historical data to compare, but I think it comes down to trust, and I think it also comes down to options, right? So, on the trust aspect of it, there's on the casual one, you have joint accounts where you're just sort of splitting bills with friends, right? And
right.
You're focused more on fairness, transparency, I guess, like increasing purchasing power. And then with a partner, it's much more aligning your goals, like integrating and growing your lives together, building savings together. And I suppose, that is something that people are wanting and think is important. But then do you have the tools to support you in that? And so one of the things that we've done with learning these trends is put together a joint account for KOHO. We just launched today. Very excited about it. And it provides that. It's no additional fees. It's convenient. It's an app, so it's right in your pocket. It's giving people some more options to build those goals together.
So it would give, for instance, roommates the ability to do something like this, right?
Exactly. So you have your own personal account, and then you can also have your joint account with your roommate. You can both fund it. You can see, who's paying for what, if they're paying for, their share of things.
Right.
And it can just really help with reducing, the friction in relationships and increasing your purchasing power.
Do you have any indication why people are moving, or at least in the past, have moved away from joint accounts, particularly when they're in a relationship?
That we didn't look at, and I couldn't really sort of come to a guess on that one. I think it really must be options. Like when I think about, where I was with my husband, say like 10 years ago, we got a shared credit card, and it was a lot of headaches. So, I had to be the primary card holder. I had to pay an extra fee for him to get a card, or I basically had to make all the purchases for us. I had to make sure the card was getting paid off. And it was all very manual and just, a lot of headache. And then we also, got a joint bank account. And, I suppose it would be, pretty easy for me just to abscond with all of our money. So I think it just required a lot of trust, and also just a lot of setup and inconvenience. And perhaps folks just don't appreciate that there are now, better, easier, more free options available.
And the younger generations that are coming up now, the Gen Zs of the world that are coming into this reality, are more likely than generations of the past to consider a joint account with friends or roommates.
That's right. Yeah, I think Gen Z, they are really feeling the squeeze more so than other generations. I mean, they're just starting out. Like you said, there's increasing costs, unemployment's up, they have to get multiple jobs. And so this is really a very practical response to that. So it's like, how can we figure out a way to make ends meet? They're also, digitally inclined. So maybe they're the first ones to see that we have these options where they are, in-app accounts, like, bill split, that kind of thing. So I think it makes sense that we would see more of an uptake in that, whereas maybe older generations are used to the more traditional joint accounts, which require, I guess, a lot more trust and a lot more sort of headache, frankly.
Right, I hear it. Faye, when we talk of, got an email from a listener while we were speaking, wondering with a product like yours that you've launched today, does that appear on both people's credit reports, or is it one person? How does that work?
In terms of the credit report, I mean, it depends on, what kind of product you're signed up for.
Right.
I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of it, but just having the account alone does not get reported.
Right. So it's safe. So you're not going to, your roommate's not going to, other than steal all your money, you're not going to end up in a credit crunch.
Yeah. So I mean, we're based off of a prepaid credit card, right? So you don't go into debt on the prepaid credit card per se, right? You have the funds. It kind of operates a bit more like a debit account.
Like a debit account.
So the funds are in there. You spend what you have. You can track it. It's immediate in app. So as soon as you or your joint account partner makes a purchase, you both immediately get a notification. So it's really easy and transparent.
Appreciate your time today, Faye.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. That's
Faye Lucas from KOHO. It's interesting. I never even would have thought back in the day, and again, I'm not a boomer, but I'm a millennial, on the early end of the millennials. Or no, really, I'm a Gen Xer, I guess is the best way to describe that. Would have never opened a shared account with a roommate. I just don't trust people enough, right? And that's maybe just me. Maybe I have trust issues. But it looks like that later generations, the back end of the millennials and the Gen Zs of the world, are more apt to that. And if it doesn't, I mean, obviously there's risk. There's risk with everything. But wouldn't it make it easier? Do you remember when you were living with a roommate and you're chasing them for rent all the time, right? Maybe you still have to chase them to put money into the joint account, but at least it's, there's a mechanism there, if that makes any sense. Interesting. And I get, and shared expenses, I think that number is going to continue to increase, because I don't think that in today's world that somebody that is as a sole source of income, I don't know how they do it. I really don't. It's so expensive out there, and we're hearing about inflation going up, and the inflation at the grocery store is up again, and things aren't getting any cheaper. When we come back, new show coming to Halifax dealing with franchises. Have you ever thought about opening or getting a franchise or starting a franchise here in Halifax? Well, this show is a one-stop shop for all of that. The president of National Events Management, Fred Cox, will tell us about the Halifax Franchise Show when we come back. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Allders, and we're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. It's a topic of discussion when normally, at least around this place, when a new restaurant, new franchise, if it doesn't have to be a restaurant, new franchise store opens up in our area, people start to say, hey, look, another chain's coming to town, and there's some excitement and such that's around it, or there's another one of the chain restaurants or chain stores that open up, and people say, like, look, must be successful because it's expanding, and we're seeing it all over HRM. If you've ever been curious about franchises and how the whole thing works, well, there's a show coming to Halifax that will answer all of those questions for you. We're very pleased on the phone to join us today, the president of National Events Management, and that is Fred Cox. Fred, how are you?
Hi, great, Dan. How are you?
I am well. Franchises are a thing of mystery to me, right? We see franchises everywhere we go. They're all over here, all over Halifax. How does franchising, and this is probably a broad question, but how does franchising work? Like, are you the owner, or does somebody else own it, or how does that work?
Sure. Yes, it's a great concept where you're sort of in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So that's what makes it the most, or a much less risky proposition of owning a business versus just starting one from scratch, Dan. And so this is where, yes, local franchisees are always sort of given in the franchise model essentially a territory where their store will be. And a lot of different businesses have different models on how they define their territories, et cetera. But you will be responsible for everything within that store that you own and that region that you are running. And your profit loss statement will all be you. But the key part is that you have all the support services from all the other franchisees. In some cases, ones like McDonald's, who's with us next weekend, who's of course got thousands and thousands of other stores across the world. Versus other ones that might have 5 or 6 new franchisees. But the point is, they've made mistakes before. They've learned what works from a marketing perspective, and they also deliver all the resources behind the scenes to help you with marketing, with accounting, with everything that you need from a legal perspective to be able to get you up and running. So there's really a lot of support that allows you to sort of take the passion that you have as a business owner and the energy and put that in the right places to make the business successful.
A lot of franchises that we see, Fred, have similar looking stores, similar menus, similar products that they sell. Is that the on the franchisee to have particularly if you're moving into a new space to pay those construction costs and those kind of things?
That it's very much again, each model is different, and that's what we really love about the franchise show and about bringing it to town next weekend in Halifax. Is this is really a place to kind of get your education and ask exactly the questions that you're asking, Dan. Is because again, everyone is going to be a little bit different on what's going to be determined on certain things that are coming from head office, and it's a non-negotiable that you have to have the golden arches versus something like a Pickleplex Social Club, which is a new pickleball club that's going to be opening, and they might have more ability to allow you to use some of your own local marketing, local suppliers to get things. But the key here is to come out and ask questions and to meet 40 different businesses under one roof that are looking to expand and ask all of these questions of what do I have to finance if I buy your franchise? What skills do I need to have? And what kind of money do I have to have up front to pay for things versus money that you can finance over time with the franchise, because each one is going to be a little bit different. And the great part, Dan, is that most of these businesses will bring out existing franchisees, so you can actually ask them the question of, hey, when you were in my shoes, be it 2 years or 10 years ago, what did you need to ask, and what did you go through, and what was it like to actually open a store, and how did it go? So those are the things that really make a franchise show valuable, that you can ask all these questions and learn the full experience from this first investigative journey about owning your own business to actually being in business for yourself.
Fred, obviously finances are a major question that people ask, and I would imagine that each franchise has got a different model, but is it responsible for the store owner to pay a franchise fee, or how does that work?
Yes, there is a franchise fee in most cases. However, we do also have some what we call business opportunities at the show as well, which don't have an investment up front. So that's where if people don't have funds, there is those opportunities at the show as well. And again, when with all of the different range of franchises up there, yes, some franchises are going to for sure require a franchise fee up front, and some are going to be a lot less. And of course, that's going to depend on how long the business has been around. As we look at, as I say, the McDonald's example versus we also have Pizza at the show, and just so many others. Jumping Bean Coffee, there's one. Mary Brown's Chicken, Mavericks Donuts, Dairy Queen. So they're all going to have different levels based on the kind of investment that's going to be required, how long the brand has been around, and that's also going to come with some more. It depends on things that the franchisor is going to put in. Sometimes they will be putting up marketing to get you off the ground versus you putting up your own. So there's so many factors that go into this decision that it's all about the research and making sure that you're in the right kind of business that you're going to have a passion for, and seeing all your options under one roof with so many different industries represented here as well. It's not just food that we've talked about, home services, education, senior care, so many different things that people could be interested in. You got to find what you're passionate about first and foremost.
What's the market like here in Halifax? Is this a place we're growing like crazy? Is this a place that franchisors are looking at?
Yes, they really are, for sure. You got it. The growth is something that, it all comes down to servicing customers, of course, and that's where the franchise model really does thrive on when there is a base of population that need all these services we talked about. Of course, from eating, but then of getting education, getting your seniors home care, getting your home services, everything you require for that, automotive care. People just require services, and that's what the franchise model has really done a good job of, having something for every one of these services. And so Halifax has really been a very large growing market for us. And certainly from an immigration perspective in Canada in general, Dan, we're very lucky with the kind of immigration that has come in, that it's not only brought new customers to the fold for franchises looking to expand, but also, people from other countries who are very willing to work hard and looking to get ahead and sort of invest in themselves, bet on themselves, and willing to open a store. And that's been obviously a huge part of Halifax's population growth, and it's really something that's been instrumental in the whole growth of successful franchising in Canada.
Franchise Show Halifax goes November 1st and 2nd, so was it next weekend? A couple weekends away at the Halifax Convention Centre. Fred, what can people expect to see there?
Yeah, what they're going to see is, it's actually even closer to 50 franchises that are going to be exhibiting and getting information to people who want to own a business. But they're also going to be able to take in seminars all weekend, Dan, that are all free, and from people like, RBC Bank is there, TD Bank, talking about, just different ideas on how to secure financing and what you may want to think out. There's some of the top lawyers from Halifax as well that are going to be out there saying legal aspects you need and want to be, just things you want to be asking about, and real franchise experts that have been in the business for many, many years, who are talking about how to find the franchise that's right for you. And so there's great resources on that side, which are all free, and it's just a $10 ticket to get into the show. But you really are going to see all of these businesses that are looking to expand. Many you'll know as household names, but many that are hoping to be the McDonald's of tomorrow. And those are the real exciting concepts to me, are the ones that people are going to look and say, hey, this has got a great looking brand. This has got some staying power, and maybe the chance for me to get in on the ground floor. If someone's had the dream of owning a business, this is a great place for them to be next Saturday, Sunday at the Convention Center, November 1st and 2nd. Fred,
where can we get more information?
Yeah, HalifaxFranchiseShow.com. You can get your tickets there online, and that's going to have all the information with all the seminar schedules and things like that as well, and other information, a list of things you should ask at the show, just to get you as prepared as you can for it. And we really hope people enjoy the show we're bringing to Halifax. We're excited for it.
Fred, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Dan.
That is Fred Cox, the president of National Events Management. The show 1st and 2nd of November at the Halifax Convention Center. Time to stop, get an update from the news on the other side of it. We'll throw open the telephone lines. It's time for house calls. Dr. John Gillis will be here to answer your medical questions. If you have a question for Dr. Gillis, good time to get in right now. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We're back after the news. All right, welcome back. It's Wednesday, just after the news at 11. That means it's time now for house calls. If you have a medical question, if you would like some advice from our doctor, here's your opportunity. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John Gillis is here. Dr. John, how are you?
How are you?
Not too bad. You planning to head to Toronto to see any of the World Series?
Can't do it. Otherwise occupied both weekends, and by the look of the tickets, it would be it'd be a tough one anyway.
$2,000 is the nosebleed ticket price. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they'll come down from that, but yeah, they're going to be a lot. I got to see game 2, the last round, which was I got smoked, but it was a fun experience.
Right. Your thoughts on the series, Dr. John, and how the Jays match up against the Dodgers?
I follow the Dodgers that closely, but just their success rate over the last few years has been amazing. And when you got a guy who can pitch 6 innings and hit 3 home runs, it's crazy that you get someone that good. But anything can happen in the playoffs. Emotions and passion and all those things come into play, and I hope they can get it done.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 is the number. Dr. John, an email from a new worker, a youngster who's just 20 and has got his first job, and he says he's working in a warehouse and it gets loud sometimes, and has for the last couple of weeks has started to notice that he's getting ringing in his ears, making it hard for him to sleep in silence because it is getting louder. I guess the first question would be is he probably should be wearing hearing protection, and second, how do you deal with ringing in the ears?
Well, I mean, it would be odd to get tinnitus ringing in the ears in just a few weeks unless you're in a crazy loud environment, like standing next to an aircraft engine on a daily basis. But yeah, hearing protection in any loud environment is important. You'd want to get checked to make sure there's nothing going on with the ear itself. Could just be an ear infection, something viral or something bacterial. And tinnitus. If we could treat tinnitus, Dan, we wouldn't be here right now. We'd be in our yacht in the Cayman Islands. It's very hard to treat.
Yeah, I get it. I because I've had headphones on for 30 years. I get it, and I find that white noise at night helps. If it gets bad, I just put on some white noise on the headphones, and it goes away.
Yeah, watch Leafs highlights, and you'll just get frustrated and pass out.
Oh, I wasn't even going to go there, man. It's just they're already fighting with each other, and we're like 2 weeks into the season.
No, it's Stolarz is giving it to everybody, and the defenseman is the size of a house, just lets them get run over.
Right.
You gotta take up.
I bet you he's got ringing in the ears. Anyway, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This one comes to us and says, Dr. John, I don't know why, but I sweat a lot through my palms and my feet, and sometimes on my face as well. My feet get cold when they sweat excessively. How do I stop excessive sweating?
Problem, and for some people, just the way they are. I mean, controlling your environment is important. Keeping things cool, wearing breathable clothing. Some people, they'll wear socks that are thick and woolly as opposed to breathable fabric. And then beyond that, you want to make sure your hormones are in order, that you're not hyperthyroid, that your thyroid is too high, making you extra warm, maybe a little extra sweaty, and there's a few other medical conditions that can be screened for, but can be often when I see it, it's just the way people are. They just have to try to control their environment as best they can.
Yeah, it can be a bit embarrassing, right? If you're sweating like that all the time.
Yeah, and there are some, legitimate conditions whereby people have an actual gland problem where they have to have, glands, injected or in some cases removed, hyperhidrosis. That's much less common. People who describe just a small amount, is usually just the way they are.
And on the converse of that, there are people that don't sweat enough, right?
Absolutely.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This email came to us last week, Dr. John. We didn't get to it. It says, I've been feeling well since the end of September. I had a sore throat for a couple of days. When that went away, I had an annoying tickle at the back of my throat when I laid down, which made me start to cough. I finally went to the doctor a few days later because the dry cough was driving me crazy and I wasn't feeling well. No fever. Oxygen levels were good, according to my doctor. I was put on antibiotics and that I just finished. Was told to keep taking my Symbicort, which is a puffer, I guess, and Ventolin for my asthma. But about 5 days ago, I had insane pressure and headaches. My ears started ringing. When I blow my nose, my ears get plugged, and there's a foul smell in my nose. My cough is finally gone, and my asthma isn't bothering me anymore. But even though my face hurts, the smell and the ears ringing, I don't have anything coming out of my nose, but I can breathe through them, and it's clear. But the sinus pressure is still there. What should I do?
Look at a decongestant, something like Sudafed or Advil Cold and Sinus to try and, drain some of what's, maybe in there and coming out slowly. Or, look at a nasal spray like a Flonase, which is over the counter. Talk to a pharmacist about that. So it's probably where I'd start.
This it could be an allergy? Because I know this time of the year people start complaining about getting plugged sinuses.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can trigger it. The fact that it was in the chest before probably makes it less likely that it was allergic, that it was probably viral and or bacterial, and that it just spread. Is
there any? Obviously, sinus issues are common. I get lots of emails and we get lots of calls on it. Is there a at-home remedy for relieving sinus pressure when it builds like that?
Really, other than things we've often talked about, there are flushing devices that can be helpful for people, keeping your environment, not too humid but not too dry, depending on how people react. And, making sure there's no mold or things in your environment that can trigger allergic type attacks.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We're going to take a break. Dr. John's here for the hour, so if you have a question, lines are wide open right now. Perfect opportunity to get on. Again, those numbers are 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. House Calls continues after the break. Welcome back. This is House Calls. He is Dr. John Gillis. The number is 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Must be a bunch of healthy people out there today, Dr. John, because the phones are being rather light today. It's interesting, isn't it?
Beautiful day. We're getting some nice weather, and maybe people are out there enjoying it. So I might do the same when we're done.
Right on. Dr. John, time for our weekly check-in on the viruses and bugs at the ER. Is the season picking up, or is it about normal?
It seems to be picking up. I had quite a busy week last week, and just a lot of everything, but a lot of coughing, a lot of people with mild respiratory issues. And again, it's a balance between coming in if you're sick and elderly or have other health issues versus, fortunately, we see lots of frustrated people who come in and spend hours there, and we tell them there's nothing we can do for them, and they have a virus and it will pass. So but if we always say if you're concerned, get yourself checked, but consider home remedies, meaning Tylenol and Advil for aches and pains first, and just rest, lots of fluids. But if you do need help, we're always there.
Dr. John, is the ER the best approach for somebody that has a virus, or or would Maple be a better approach, or a combination of both?
Well, this is what I keep saying. My short answer would be neither. If you're young, healthy, and have a mild respiratory virus and are not struggling to breathe, having chest pains or other issues, there's nothing that either place is going to do. I mean, there's a tendency, in the ER to over-investigate. Somebody comes in, well, we better do a chest X-ray. I don't. Someone's young and healthy and they have normal oxygen, and I don't think they have pneumonia. That it's not a lot of radiation, but it's unnecessary radiation, and it's not going to change management. In the community, there's a tendency if you're busy and someone comes in, well, I've got a chest infection. Here's some antibiotics. As I said before, harbor water, dark rum, or antibiotics are going to do about the same for a viral illness. So try to manage it conservatively, which keeps you away from other people, lets you rest, and avoids your frustration of waiting for a period of time and then being told nothing needs to be done. Again, on the other hand, there are some people that are sick and do need to be seen, and we always want those people to get checked.
Dr. John Gillis's tincture for cure-alls is harbor water and dark rum.
There you go. Don't air meat too, but you can't drink it.
Well, I guess you could probably, put it in a blender. That would look pretty gross, though, I would think. 902-405. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-825. Now the phones are lining up, Dr. John. Let's welcome David to the show. David, how are you? David, are you there? One moment, please. Vanessa is waving her finger at me. We're going to see what's going on here. And is the pot up, Vanessa? Oh, we lost David. Let's move on to Gordon. Gordon, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, there you are. Good.
My phone doesn't work too well, though.
Your question for Dr. John, please.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. I was just wondering about different things about Lyme disease.
Hello?
I must have lost you, did I?
You did. Your question's about Lyme disease?
Yes.
What specifically?
Well, I mean, how do you know when you have it? I know I got tested and I have Lyme disease. Right. But it took quite a while before I found out I had it. And then there's another one, I think, called anaplasmosis that you get from ticks.
Dr. John?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is.
How do you know if you have Lyme disease? I think Gordon was trying to get at his phone's dropping in and out.
So the classic symptom of Lyme disease is a bullseye rash, meaning a red mark that has white and then more of a red in the center. That's, the classic how we look for it, but you don't actually see that very often. Any rash around a tick bite, but it's pretty striking when you see it. I mean, for those of you with computers and Google, take a look at see what we mean by a bullseye rash. And after that, unfortunately, the symptoms can be nonspecific. Aches, fevers, chills, just feeling unwell. But the biggest thing, obviously, is a tick bite. Tick has to, the data says a tick has to be there for at least 24 hours.
Yep.
We see a lot of people come screaming in like a cobra bit them on the arse because, they found a tick walking up and down their leg. And, the odds of getting Lyme from that are very slim. Now, we do need to take Lyme seriously because there's a fair bit of Lyme in this province.
Yes.
And, if it's not treated, it can cause, neurologic problems, joint problems, that sort of thing. But on the other hand, if we give everybody that's seen a tick in Nova Scotia antibiotics, then we get into other problems with, antibiotic resistance and, the other issues that, bowel and GI issues that antibiotics can cause. So it really is recognition, if there's a suspicion, a strong one, like if the rash is there and the symptoms are there, by all means treat it. If there's an uncertainty, get the blood test done. If a tick has been on you for 24 hours, you probably don't have Lyme disease, and it's important to check regularly. When I head down to Lunenburg, I check a lot more religiously than I do, if I'm rolling around central Halifax, because the rural area is more grass, more trees, all that stuff. There's more ticks around.
Right.
So those are the things to watch for, and, just have a balanced approach to it.
What's the treatment? Is it antibiotics, Dr. John? Once you're diagnosed and you have Lyme disease, is it an antibiotic that is the solution to that, or is there?
Antibiotic is the treatment, and there's a couple different options, usually for a 10 to 14 day course. And again, there's a little bit of a tendency to put anybody that's seen a tick on it on spec, and I don't agree with that. I think we need to be a little more measured about it.
902-405-6000. Thanks, Gordon. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let us get David's back on the line, Doctor. David, are you there?
Hi there. Yeah, sorry, just a little phone weirdness going on there.
Your question.
I just have a couple just general questions about asthma regarding shortness of breath and the lengths of attacks. So I'm just curious, the weakness. Is that stem from just constricted airways and an ability to draw in sort of oxygen or fresh air, or does sort of asthma actually inhibit your ability to absorb the oxygen? And I'm just curious about the length of attack. Is asthma generally just sort of a transient, fairly quick thing? Is it over, or can it persist for a long time? Because the sort of one thing I noticed, I have one job that seems to irritate me a lot more than others. And kind of a day or two out of that, I'll seem to just be, having more sort of troubles or sensitive to it. And I just generally don't use this sort of emergency recovery inhaler. I just use my kind of preventative maintenance one. But after that job, I started using the sort of recovery one, afterwards, before then using the sort of maintenance one. And it actually sort of seemed to clear it up very quickly. And I didn't have that sort of persistent, day or two afterwards kind of issues.
A lot in that question. So
right.
There's no cookie cutter answer to how long an asthma attack lasts. Some people who have minor, what we call reactive airways disease, if they, I used to get it when I was a teenager. If I step outside and it was cold, I'd breathe in cold air, I'd wheeze for a few seconds, I'd take my Ventolin, and it would go away. People with severe asthma attacks, require admission to hospital for days and require epinephrine, steroids, and a full range of treatment. That's quite rare. Again, everybody's different. Depends on what's triggering it. If it's heat, it's cold. If it's dust, it's exercise. The bottom line is which was alluded to, is preventative treatment, which is often is a steroid, and there's some other drugs that we have some good drugs out there to prevent attacks now, and to have what we would refer to as an urgent or rescue inhaler, what people think of as Ventolin or salbutamol, same thing, which is the blue one that people see around, which is meant to, unconstrict the lungs right away, as opposed to prevent them from constricting in the first place. So having the preventative treatment plus the as-needed treatment is really the key. Weakness, it's always hard to quantify what that means. If you're struggling to breathe, it's an uncomfortable feeling. So there can be an element of stress and, in some cases, panic there when it's really bad. And it can, in severe cases, drop your oxygen level. It usually doesn't. It's usually just the combination of the stress of the work of breathing and just the stress of the attack that makes people feel off for a period of time. But it usually dissipates. But again, the key is getting the right control, avoiding your triggers, having the right preventative meds, and having something to help when you do have an attack. And it sounds like, the caller's on the right track there. But those are the principles.
It's got to be disconcerting when it happens, right? Because, you struggle to breathe, and then, the panic starts to set in, right?
Yeah, that's it. And it's like anything. Anybody who's ever choked even for a few seconds, it's a very disconcerting feeling. It happened to me a few months ago. I just, piece of steak went down the wrong way. If you can't breathe, your body, starts to panic. And the people describe the feeling like you're breathing through a straw. You just can't get enough in. You can't get enough air, and it's a very distressing feeling. And part of treating an asthma attack, a severe one, is calming people down and getting the oxygen onto them and reassuring them they're going to be okay. So they lower their respiratory rate, because panic is a real part of it.
Great questions, David. I appreciate it. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're going to stop, take a break for the news. The House Calls continues on the other side of it. Dr. Gillis here right up till the top of the hour. 902-405-6000 is the number. There's a couple of lines open if you want to get on and get your questions answered. We're back after the news. If Dr. John a cure or an antidote for the gremlins that continue to infest our systems here at the radio station. Anyway, we're back, and thanks to Blake for picking up the slack there when the system went down. Computers are wonderful things as long as they work, right? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John Gillis is here for the next half hour to answer your medical-related questions. If you have a question for the doctor, a couple of lines open for you here, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to Jean. Jean, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Your question,
I
please.
was just wanting to ask Dr. Gillis if he knows of any magical cure for really, really sore lips. Like, I had them burnt about 30 years ago, really, really bad. And now it's really painful. But what I wanted to ask you was, oh, God, is Aquaphor any good for them? Hello?
Dr. John, are you there?
I was just listening. Everyone, be patient.
All right.
Everyone's a little impatient today. Making out with Justin Trudeau seems to be the way to do it these days. So that's what's working for Katy Perry. So if you
well, I don't have a yacht.
And she said she doesn't have a yacht, Dr. John. So we're out of luck there. Cures for sore lips.
Aquaphor is just Eucerin, which is basically a moisturizer. It can help. Sometimes people, if it's a nerve problem from a previous burn, they would look at either some systemic medications like gabapentin or amitriptyline for the nerve pain. Sometimes people use numbing creams like what they use for babies, Ambisol, which contains one of the canes, Marcaine or lidocaine or xylocaine, which could help. So I would look at some of those things if you haven't already, and hopefully you can find a way if you can't track down Mr. Trudeau.
Thanks, Gina. I appreciate it. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I think tracking down Mr. Trudeau might be a cure for a lot of people's ails these days, right?
There you go.
Fair enough. Let's go back. I'll stop my attempt at humor here, and we will go to Gladys. Gladys, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Your question, please.
I have a question for Dr. John. Dr. John, I'm 75 years old, and this summer I noticed, I don't know if it was I thought it was with the heat, swelling of my feet, and it didn't stop. It's not as bad, but there's still swelling. Is that something I should be worried about or just not paying attention?
Dr. John.
I mean, there's a number of different possibilities. The most common is just as we age, venous return, meaning blood that goes down to the feet because of pump to the feet, and because of gravity, it doesn't kind of pump its way back up as easily. So that can cause minor swelling. The treatment for that is activity, stretching, and often compression socks, just to help create a little bit of compression of the calves to help that return. If it's severe, it can be a sign of, fluid retention from heart failure or other problems. So it's causing shortness of breath or any other problems, you should definitely get it checked. The other piece of it, I see probably far too many people who, have a little bit of ankle swelling and want to get themselves put on diuretics. Diuretics will take fluid off, but they also can lower your blood pressure, mess up your potassium, and cause other problems. So, they shouldn't be, tossed around like they're Skittles. So I would probably start with some compression stockings, keep yourself moving. And if you're concerned more than that, just get someone to have a look at it.
Thanks for the question, Gladys. Dr. John, can ankle swelling be a sign of something like diabetes or something like that moving down the line?
Not typically. You can, people who have diabetes often have concurrent other problems, right, but I wouldn't correlate diabetes. Now, one of the things that we do see is people with diabetes, bad diabetes in particular, lose feeling in their legs, and they can get, poor circulation related to the diabetes directly. The actual swelling, just the straight fluid accumulation isn't directly related, but you can have other problems that do kind of go hand in hand with it.
Thanks, Gladys. I appreciate it. Best of luck. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, a couple of questions about COVID-19 vaccinations for this fall and winter and flu shots. Those are available now, correct?
That's correct.
Some people are asking that they're having trouble finding the fall winter dose at some pharmacies. Are you hearing of a shortage or anything like that?
I have not. I've heard very little, to be honest. I've heard a few people tell me they've gone in, that they've gone online or called their pharmacy and get it. I saw a commentary from some people in Ontario this spring, saying that they were able to get in quite quickly. So they are definitely out there. I'm not aware of a shortage. I guess I would encourage people to check with their pharmacy or another pharmacy, or to look at the NS Health site to see if there's any specific guidance that's different and where to go.
Tom writes, is there any advantages to delaying getting the flu vaccine until later in the season to maximize benefits into late winter?
No, it's meant to last for the strains that are out there now, and we're seeing people with influenza now. You're better off protecting yourself as soon as you can, to be sure.
And his last question, Dr. John, is what seasonal vaccines do you recommend for seniors?
Well, there's a lot out there, right? Everybody should have their flu and their COVID. People should consider their RSV if it's covered for them, or if, either with the new public coverage and some private coverage. Shingles in general, it's not specifically related to the flu season, but seeing a lot of seniors still with attacks of shingles. And then the standard, things like pneumonia vaccine, pneumovax, there are a few of them out there, but to prevent, various pneumonias. Those are the big things to protect from the respiratory viruses and infections.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Mike to the show. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. My question is, about two or 3 months ago, my dog decides he's taking a run down the street, so obviously I'm taking a run after him. And I had sandals on, and as I was trying to catch him, one of my sandals kind of came half off, and I was running half on the sandal and half off it, and it right between the ankle and the arch of my foot, for the first couple weeks, it was, I could hardly walk on it. I don't know what I did. I had to walk on the side of my foot, but now it's weird. It comes and goes. Like, I can go a day or two, no pain at all, wouldn't even tell anything happened. And then, like right now, I have to walk on the side of my foot because the pain comes back. So I'm just wondering, is there anything there that I could have moved, or should I get it checked out, or just where it's kind of only every couple days now? Is it, you think maybe it's something that's going to heal on its own, or any ideas?
It's tough to answer without putting a hand on it. You probably strained some soft tissues, ligaments, some tendons, and the problem with foot injuries, calf injuries, if you're on your feet all the time, it's hard to let them rest. If it's been ongoing that long, an X-ray is probably not a bad idea, although I think it's probably low yield if you can still walk. And then you're looking at, maybe physio for some local treatment for the inflammation, taking some oral anti-inflammatories, and just making sure that your footwear is optimized so you're as comfortable as possible. But, how long did you say it's been going on?
It happened about 3 months ago, and for the first while, it was like every day I was walking on the side of my foot and limping, and then it wouldn't have no pain, and then all of a sudden by lunchtime it didn't even like gradually work up. It just went from no pain to full on pain, and it's weird. And I had planners in the past, rather bad, but I have orthotics, and that's actually been under control for about the last year to 18 months, where I've had no issues with my planners. I'm wondering, could that be something to do with it, maybe, or it doesn't feel the same? Feels same but different.
Yeah, plantar fasciitis is on the bottom of the foot. You're sounding like this is more on the top, is it?
It's like from my heel to the arch of my foot, underneath on the inside of my foot, the inside bottom.
Of my foot. Yeah, it could be a bit of plantar fasciitis as well. The bottom line is I think you probably need someone to look at it specifically to try and narrow down where it's coming from, tend to try some anti-inflammatories and some local therapy.
Best of luck, Mike. Having a sore foot is not fun. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John's back after the break. Okay, welcome back. Dr. John here till the top of the hour. If you have a medical question, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, we're going to go right to the phone lines and welcome Mary to the show. Mary, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Just a question there. I've had a rash on my neck and in my crease lines. It was red and it's itchy. And so I used the external antifungal cream, and it helped me out. But it was like burning and itching when I put that on. And then after a couple of days, it got okay. And I had called the Maple app there, and a doctor prescribed HC 1% chlorothermoderm or something. But anyway, I never used it because it cleared up from the caniston cream. So now I'm wondering, it's coming back again, and my whole body is itchy, but there's no rash on the body, just like on the chest area and the neck. Just wondering, should I use that instead of the caniston cream there that I was using? Because I don't want to use it because if there's, what do you call it there, HC 1%, is that cortisone?
Sorry, canestin is a anti-yeast cream. Are you saying you have a cortisone cream as well, or are they mixed together?
Yeah, I just got the cream like the next day, and it almost seemed like that was healing, like there was no more itch. So that was like that for a week, and I could see it disappearing, the redness around the neck. And now, last night, my whole body from head to toe is all itchy, but it's like a dry itch, but there's no rash. It's just on my neck. And in the crease, there's a red line, and I get these bouts of heat too when I use the cream. So I don't know. Should I use the cortisone cream?
Yeah, I'd probably start with the cortisone cream if it's itchy. I mean, if your whole body's itchy, though, that would suggest something allergic to me. You may need to get that looked at, or figure out what you're reacting to. You may need an antihistamine of some sort. But you could put the cortisone cream on the neck if it's itchy. I don't think there's any harm in that.
Best of luck, Mary. Appreciate the call. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, an email question. It reads, in late May of 2025, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. The urologist asked me if I worked near hazardous materials, smoke or drank. I answered no to all three. Prior, in 2012, I was diagnosed with early stages of prostate cancer and had it removed. Does Dr. John know what causes bladder cancer, or could it be related to my earlier prostate cancer? And that's from Ken.
So the reason that you get asked the question is, the most common cause is exposure to things that can cause cancer. Now, for a lot of people, they wouldn't be able to identify things. Smoking is a big factor. Chemicals that people might have been exposed to in their jobs, that sort of thing, can be a factor. Bladder problems themselves, infections, or things that would have inflamed or irritated the bladder. I'm not specific. I don't think there's a connection between prostate and bladder cancer. I mean, they're separate systems. But trying to understand the causes is important for people to try to avoid things in their lives. And smoking and chemicals are big things. Just try to eat well. And for prostate cancer, obviously we've gotten a lot better at screening for that. People should be getting prostate specific antigens after 50, and an exam if they need it from talking to their doc.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. One more email question before we go, Dr. John. It says, yesterday got scratched on the top of my hand by my neighbor's outdoor cat when petting her. The scratches were very light, so only one of them is barely visible. I immediately washed my hands with soap. She's always scratched in a playful way, so I'm not really concerned about that behavior. However, Today when I woke up, I felt a tingling sensation in my hand, particularly in the two fingers where the scratch was. I often wake up with numb hands, arms, or legs, so I thought I just slept on top of my hand, but it's been a couple of hours, and the tingling sensation isn't going away. I've got full mobility. Is this normal, or should I get it checked?
It's normal. I mean, unless you notice swelling, redness, or pain, it's probably not an infection. It may just be a bit of local irritation. I mean, cats can cause, what's called cat scratch fever from the bacteria that comes from, their bodies, but gets into people from getting scratched. It usually causes swollen glands and can cause, just the neck, underarms, and just kind of feeling rotten. So, I mean, if it progresses to that, I would get it checked.
Dr. John, I think Ted Nugent has a copyright on that.
What's that?
I think Ted Nugent has a copyright on cat scratch fever.
Okay, won't sing it then. I'll spare everybody.
Please don't. Very quickly, Dr. John, we're going to let you go a little bit early here, but this is going to help me into my next segment. As a practicing physician, once you're through your education and you get your through all your med schools and you through your residency and everything else, and you're a full-fledged doctor, do you have to recertify over a certain period of time, or is it one and done?
So the way it works is, you do medical school. There's an exam everybody has to do, which is a basic credentialing exam called the LMCC, the Licentiate of the Medical Council of Canada. And then you do whatever residency you're going to do in, whatever area, family medicine, surgery, whatever. And then there's an examination process associated with each of those certifications. Concurrently, as a resident, and then when you're fully certified, you have to apply for a license in your jurisdiction to make sure you're qualified to practice in that jurisdiction. We've talked about that on the show, such that it used to be every province, which was annoying. We've gotten better, particularly in this region. We have the Atlantic Registry, so if you have a license in one Atlantic province, for a nominal fee, you can be licensed automatically in the others. That's helpful, but part of all of this is what we call continuing medical education. So the regulatory bodies, the College of Family Physicians and the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada have similar processes that I think we're both on. The family med one is on 5-year cycle. You have to do a certain number of continuing medical education hours, and there are different categories of that. Some are in person, some are, on your own reading journals, some are courses, but you have to fulfill a combination of hours such that you keep yourself, paying attention to what you need. For me, some of that is, advanced cardiac life support or pediatric advanced life support, things that I need to keep up on in my job anyway. So you do those every, 1 to 2 years and, keep that certification up and keep track of your hours for that. And then a lot of people go to conferences. Some people follow online modules. There's a lot of different things out there. And so the short answer is yes, people have to keep up their skills, and there's different ways to do that. And the regulatory colleges in the provinces themselves, when you're renewing your license, they ask you, are you up to date with your continuing medical education? If you're not, then they'll tell you to get on with it. So that's it's important to keep people, up to date on what they're doing, because things do change over time.
Dr. John, always a pleasure. Talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
That is Dr. John Gillis. He's here every Wednesday from 11 until 12 to answer your medical-related questions. Now, it seems I touched a nerve earlier today on the show when I was complaining about the driving habits of people in Halifax. By far the worst I've seen in my driving experience in this country. I had suggested that maybe it's a solution to that is to have recertification over a certain period of time, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, to reinforce the rules of the road, because over the last 38 shows that I've done here, I have noticed that the driving habits of people in our province, in this city, are nothing short of terrible. Merging, distracted driving. I still don't understand how somebody can have their their head looking down into their lap on their phone, driving at 110 kilometers an hour into a traffic jam. I just don't understand that. Basic rules of the road. Not a lot of you agree with me on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the telephone lines right after 12 o'clock after the news here, and let's talk about it. It's the open hour. You can talk about whatever it is on your mind. That's always here on the program. But should we look at recertifying drivers, say every 5 years here in Nova Scotia, as a way to make our roads safer? And hey, maybe it'll help to solve some of the congestion out there. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The open hour after the news. It's like I knocked over people's cornflake bowls this morning when I kicked off the show and said that I think that we need to re-examine the way that we license drivers here in Nova Scotia. I relayed some of my observations, can I call them that, from the last, 40 days or so, or 50 days, whatever it is. Because just the backstory here before we get to the emails and to the calls. And the lines are open, by the way, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I don't normally drive in traffic. I just don't. My shift that I normally work has me at the station very early in the morning, and I don't ever see traffic. So when I'm filling in for Todd, as I have been doing for the last couple of months, I get a real quick, real big example of what the morning commute is like here in HRM. I know many of you are out there thinking the same thing that I am, that it's beyond comprehension the way that people drive. The merging and the lane swapping and the speeding and the distraction driving. You've all seen it, right? Aggressive. This very morning, driving in, somebody in a right-hand lane, I'm in a left lane, and they've decided that they want to move to the left lane because it's moving quicker. Nose the car out, then turn the turn signal on. People hitting the brakes to only get ahead of two more cars, and then go back into the right-hand lane and sit there. I think that people forget the rules of the road, or they interpret the rules of the road differently than maybe they should. So the solution to that, in my world, is that we get recertified as drivers. My last driving test was when I was 16 years old. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I was in a 1986, it might have been a 1984 Hyundai Pony. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's as compact gets. Not quite as small as a smart car, but pretty darn close. I drive a much larger vehicle now, and the road has changed in those years since I was 16. Many different jobs out there, many different professions out there require recertification over a certain period of time. You heard Dr. John say doctors have to keep up their education every 5 years when they recertify with the board. So why is it that drivers only have to do a test once? 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I know many of you think I'm just off my rocker. And that's fine. I think we need to do a better job in making our roads safer. The enforcement piece is a piece. I'll give you that. As I said first thing this morning, I don't recall seeing a police officer at all in the last 2 months that I've been commuting in the morning. At all. Now, is that the fault of the police officer? No. Is it the fault of the system? I think so. You've called this show many times and said there's a lack of enforcement out there. But why would it be a bad idea for us to recertify every 5 or, hey, even every 10 years? 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Doug writes, hey, Dan, what drives me crazy is when people use the left lane heading into Barrington from the Windsor Street Exchange. They go down the left lane, then jump over for the bridge at the last minute. I won't. I will not, in the morning, drive through the Windsor Street Exchange in its current configuration. I will not. It's I've called it the Hunger Games before. People coming off of Joe Howe and trying to get over that bridge lane and going over the white line that's there. That white line's there for a reason. But people don't care. They just go across 2 lanes of traffic. And they'll go regardless if you're coming or not. That's a perfect example of why I think we need more testing. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Sam to the show. Sam, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
I was just calling because I couldn't agree with you more, honestly.
Really?
The drivers in this province are absolutely horrendous. I mean, you write one test when you're 16, and then you're good for the next 80, 90 years. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I think the testing is way too easy. I mean, I went to high school with a lot of dummies, and they were really
I'm sure your
bad
friends
drivers.
are real happy to hear that, Sam.
Yeah, well, then no, I was a dummy too. So
Okay,
it's
fair.
okay, I can say that.
All right.
But I went to high school with a lot of dummies, and they were terrible drivers, and we all got our license like first try. It's way too easy. I know in like European countries, you have to do like a lot more rigorous testing. I think we should look into that, and definitely more routine testing, especially, maybe even once you get to a certain age, because it's just a fact of life. Your eyes start to go, your reflexes slow down. So I don't think it should be offensive to consider, retesting people once they reach a certain age. But I think everybody should be retested just in general, periodically, because especially in this province and in this city. And I think also people need to learn how to zipper merge.
Right?
I think people take it as they get offended by you trying to pull in front of them as though it's a race, when you're really just doing what you were taught in driver's ed, and that's to keep traffic moving as smoothly as possible by zipper merging. It's not that from those of us who zipper merge, it's not that we're trying to get there faster or we think like we're winning the race if we pull in front of you. It's just we're just trying to keep things going smoothly.
It might help with congestion, right? We're always talking about congestion.
Yeah, like the last guy talking about that lane in Windsor Street.
Yep.
I think that's kind of a good example of where you've got like a 2-kilometer lineup of cars. If people were to just kind of zipper merge into that lane, then you cut that massive lane in half. But people are offended by zipper merging. I think that needs to get hammered into our heads more.
Fair enough.
In driver's ed.
Hey, Sam, I've got lots of calls. I appreciate yours.
Yep, thanks.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Donna to the show. Donna, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you, and thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to say I totally agree with you. I have been rear-ended not once but twice, and there was pedestrians in the crosswalk, and both people said there were trucks that ran into me, and they said, "Well, I didn't think you were going to stop." And I said, "Well, what did you think I was going to do? Run into the pedestrians?"
Right.
But it's a nightmare driving, and you are right. People merging in and out and tailgating, and I see people on their cell phones driving, one hand on the steering wheel and the other hand on their cell phone. It's ridiculous. But anyway, that's my story. But no, I do agree with you. And I'm in my 70s. I'm nervous every time I go out on the road. And I do think that people should be retested after so many years, because even I myself, I can't parallel. When I took my driving license here in Halifax, I had to parallel park. Well, I can't do that anymore. I just don't bother. When I'm out shopping, I find a spot that I can just drive right through. But a lot of our driving skills. But anyway, it's people not paying attention. That's the big thing. So
Donna,
that's it.
Appreciate it.
And
Have a good one.
Thank you for taking my call.
Always my pleasure. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Should we change the way we certify drivers in the province? 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're back right after the break. Holy smokes, we've got jam lines today, folks. If you're getting a busy signal, please keep trying. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues. We welcome Tim to the show. Tim, how are you?
Afternoon, Dan. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Very good. Well, I'm calling in regards to the ongoing cost of living in the group. And you hear very little, if anything, from all three levels of government on how they're going to reduce or alleviate that, but specifically the provincial or federal governments. And things just can't continue to rise because at some point, be it the debt of the province or the debt of the country, there has to be a breaking point. And I'd like to know both from the provincial government and federal government specifically, if they have a plan, what is their short-term and long-term plan to reduce or alleviate the cost of living?
It's a good question because it certainly impacts everybody.
100%.
Appreciate it, Tim.
You know, we have all. Thanks, bye.
Have a nice one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Yesterday we got inflation stats. I think Nova Scotia, it was either second or third for the highest inflation increase for the province. And not to be a Mark Carney cheerleader because, you know, I've been critical of him. But he is making some kind of economic speech tonight. I think it may be in Toronto. I'm not sure. But maybe he'll address it there. And we know that the federal budget's coming. I think it's on the November 7th, early in November anyway. And hopefully we'll get a peek into what their plans are to make things more affordable for you and I, because holy smokes, things are getting expensive. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Chris to the show. Chris, how are you?
Hey, Chris, what's going on, Dan?
Oh, you know, I think I've upset people today.
No, it's a really good show, by the way.
Thank you.
Seriously, I love listening to your show.
Appreciate it, sir.
It's very good, very good. And yeah, you're very good with the callers.
What's on your mind, Chris? I try not to.
Yeah. Well, I got to go back to the discussion about, I walk a lot.
Right.
And I walk and you're at a crosswalk, Dan, and somebody's on their tablet or whatever. I never take for granted that the crosswalk is a free zone. I see people, honest to God, Dan, I see people walking across crosswalks on their phone and not even paying attention. Oh, yeah, they think that, the white striped lines are no combat zone.
Right.
And usually, I'm not biased, but usually it's a lot of these immigrants that do not know
Chris,
how
I
to
see
drive.
people of all shapes and sizes that are crossing the sidewalk. I'll dispute that with you, but we also have to remember, Chris. We also have to remember that the
No, I mean the drivers, Dan.
Okay, and I've seen a lot of bad drivers of all shapes and sizes. But we also have to remember, Chris, that it's the driver's responsibility to watch that crosswalk, right?
Oh, they don't care.
But they should.
They don't realize that, driver's license is a privilege.
It is.
And they just I'm telling you, they take advantage. I find they do that in a lot of stuff. Honest to God, I went a few crosswalk zones and just people, they just almost hit it. Yeah.
I hear you,
and
Chris.
They don't even...
Chris, I got lots of calls. I want to move on, okay?
Okay, listen, I understand. Listen, thanks for taking my call, Dan. But anyways.
Appreciate it, sir.
I think I say the Blue Jays in 7 games.
There you have it. I'm going to write that down for you, all right? Have a good one, Chris. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We go now to James. James, how are you?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Well, it's a traffic thing, and it is interesting. I'm 45 years old. I've traveled quite a bit, and when I first got my license, I remember learning that people in Nova Scotia were notoriously slow drivers, and when I started driving in Quebec, I realized how aggressive driving what it really looked like. And we didn't have that here in Nova Scotia in the 90s. It wasn't the same. So I think what's happening is the intersection of an aging demographic, smartphones for sure. Every second person's on their phone while driving.
Right.
And there also is cultural differences. So, and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about Canadians. So like a lot of people from Ontario and central Canada have moved to the area, especially during COVID. And their standard of driving is just different. It takes time for it to work itself out. And yeah, you know what? There are new Canadians as well. Like if you've ever traveled to Asia or South America and driven through a large city there, it's like it made driving in Montreal in the 90s look like driving in Nova Scotia.
No, I get it. I understand that, but I don't. I think if we start to use brushes to paint all different groups and blame one over the other, like I can tell you from my observations, James, that when I see bad drivers, they're all shapes and sizes out there.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's the intersection of all three of those things.
So that would make sense then. We have another test, right?
100%.
Cool.
100%. Like, especially with infractions, if you have a lot of infractions build up, you should have to re-educate. I think re-education on anything that's possibly life-threatening it goes without saying. It should anyway.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Have a good
one,
sir.
That would solve it all, right?
It would. Oh, it would put a big dent in it. Thanks, James. I appreciate the call.
Take care.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Where are we here? Boy, these lines are busy today. David, how are you?
How are you today, Dan?
Good. What's on your mind?
Good. I just want to talk about the graduated driver program.
Right.
I think we do that for young people, but I think that's totally out of whack.
Okay.
I think that should be done at all age levels. I think every person should be tested every 10 years till they get to 60. And I think after 60, that should be every 2 to 3 years, depending on your conditions. At that age, we have eyes that start to fail a bit. People shouldn't drive at dark. They can get a conditional license after that they can drive during the day, but not at night. There's all kinds of ways to deal with these things. I've been promoting that for over 10 years now because it's just, and as for the stay out of the center lane except to pass, that's not an issue in Nova Scotia no more. You can travel all of Nova Scotia. You will not see a sign on the highway that states keep right except to pass anymore. So the police cannot enforce it and cover it in court.
Didn't know that, David.
Yeah, I've traveled a lot of Nova Scotia and Quebec this year, as far as Quebec, and there is not one sign left on the highway that tells you to keep right except to pass. So if that sign's not posted, a police officer couldn't write a ticket and it not get thrown out of court.
Appreciate you sharing that with us, David.
All right, take care.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. It has been a minute since I poured through the Highway Traffic Act here in Nova Scotia. If somebody knows any difference, because we don't want to share bad information, then you can give us a call, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy, how are you?
I'm doing well. Great show. Thanks for taking my call. Had I not followed the last caller, I wouldn't have said this, but he's dead wrong. There's signs everywhere. I was on the 102 and the 104 yesterday going down to Ganesh, and there was keep right except to pass signs.
So there you go.
Whether they can be enforced or not, I'm not sure, but there definitely are signs. But the reason for my call was the certification idea, and I'll be quick. I don't think it would work because all the issues that you and the callers are bringing up, being it distracted driving, lane changing, all of those things are things that if you were going through a recertification test, you wouldn't be doing. You'd be behaving. I mean, you wouldn't be picking up your cell phone and looking at things or a tablet. So I think enforcement, unfortunately, is the only route to go for the problems that are being raised. I mean, maybe at the over 70 or a certain age, as far as your eyesight and that, maybe that might need recertification. But I think for the main, pool of drivers, they'd all just behave on their certification test. And it would be a bit of a money grab, too.
Kathy, appreciate your call.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The reason why this came to mind for me just before we go to the break was, and it's going back a bit of time now when I started to, and I think I mentioned this earlier, when I got my motorcycle license, I had to recertify because it had expired, and I lived in a different province. So I had to go through the process, and I had to rewrite the beginner's test. Right, that's part of the certification process. And I'll tell you, there were some things on that test that I had forgotten, hadn't used, hadn't been in a place where it was used, and it was an eye opener for me. And I get what Kathy's point is that you're going to be on your best behavior when you're being tested. I don't dispute that, but just going through that process, would you not study a little bit before it, or at least go over the rules and maybe learn something new, or maybe they bring you through a merge or something along those lines? Food for thought. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues after the news. All right, welcome back. A vigorous open hour today, to say the least. A couple of lines are open if you want to get in on the conversation. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. You can chat about whatever it is on your mind, but the recertification of drivers has certainly struck a chord with the listeners today, and I've got lots of emails. I'm probably not going to get to them all, but I am trying to read them all, and I do appreciate when you do that. But better conversation if you call the radio station. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The prevailing argument that I'm getting, at least on the emails, is that this is a cash grab. And while I can understand and see where you're coming from, I don't think so. I'm not suggesting that this recertification cost you $100 or something along those lines. And yes, they would obviously have to bring more people on stream to do this testing. But it's a safety issue. And is there a price tag that you put on safety? If we're going to certify drivers to begin with, I get it. Graduated licensing. Wasn't around when I had my test. I will be the first to admit that. But I don't see it as a cash grab at all. I see it as safety, and it might even save some money down the line if we, are wrecking cars and insurance rates are going up and people are getting killed. Be worth it, wouldn't it? Just my opinion. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Percy to the show. Percy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. But the reason I'm calling is the enforcement of laws in Lower Sackville and Sackville Drive is atrocious. I've never seen a radar set up on that street in the last 20 years.
Right.
I seen a fellow going the other day. If he wasn't doing 100 or 120 kilometers on Sackville Drive by McDonald's, I'd eat my shirt. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, I rarely see traffic enforcement these days anywhere.
And I'm not just a novice driver. I've got 4 and 5 million miles under my belt.
Been on the roads more than me, I imagine.
I've been on the road for over 70 years, and I'll tell you, I've seen a lot. But this is the worst I've ever seen in my life.
Percy, I appreciate you joining the show.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Have a great day. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Albert's been on hold for a long time. Albert, how are you?
Yes, as far as your suggestions about recertification, it depends on what kind of recertification we have. It's not a knowledge problem. What's wrong with traffic now is it's a behavior problem,
right?
Not a knowledge problem, and people are just more aggressive and more desperate now, and that's a result of this rapid population growth we've been going through. It's just been revealed a few months ago that Halifax now has the third worst traffic in the country.
Yep.
And people haven't adapted to it. People are frustrated. They're desperate. They're trying to get ahead, like you mentioned, cutting ahead just to gain 2 cars and then pulling in the other lane. People haven't adapted to the increased, congestion on the streets and the time it's going to take to get from point A to point B. So it's more of people just have to slow down and accept the fact that it's going to take longer to get where you're going. And another point about zipper merging, people aren't clear about how that's supposed to work. When you're merging from 2 lanes to 1 lane, you don't wait till the last minute and cut in and force the whole moving lane to stop and let you in. You're supposed to do it way, way back before the merge so you can...
See, now there's two schools of thought on that, Albert. Others will say that that's the way you're supposed to do it, right? So what is the proper way to do it?
No. I've run into that problem too. I've seen it happen, seen it both ways.
Right.
And I've experienced it. When everyone's traveling down 1 lane, you merge way, way back at highway speed, so no one has to slow down to let you in. And then you can cruise through the whole stop at 80 kilometers an hour. But when you're greedy and boneheaded and go down that open lane and try to get ahead of everybody else, and then at the very end of the merge, you have to force the moving lane to stop to let you in. Then they have to go stop, start, stop, start. That's why it can take a difference between, half an hour to get through a merge, or you can just cruise right through at 80 kilometers an hour when everybody does it right. I think we need to be educated about zipper merging. And again, if we're going to use the solution of retesting people, it's not going to be a matter of reinforcing the knowledge of how to drive. It's going to be a matter of changing attitudes. So it's a question of how recertification will work out. Everybody knows how to drive. They know what the rules are, but we have to reduce this aggressiveness and desperation that's happening on our roads now.
Albert, appreciate the call.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I was under the impression that zipper merging was exactly the opposite of what Albert said. Is that you go to the end of the lane and then you merge with the traffic and the traffic lets you in. And when you do it further back, it just creates problems further back. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is why we need more certification and education, because it seems that we have two differences of opinion here on the law. Bradley wants to talk about zipper merging. Bradley, how are you?
Your last caller, he was lying.
Well, I don't know if he was lying. I think he might have been misinformed.
Then he was misinformed on how a zipper merge is actually supposed to be.
Right.
Because a zipper merge that's why it's called a zipper. You go to the end, and 1 for 1, you go in. That's because you use both full lanes. It's not everybody just sit in 1 lane and have an open lane for 3 kilometers.
Right. That's the way that I understood it, Bradley. That's the way that I do it.
That's the way that the law understands it as well.
I appreciate you clarifying that for us.
Thank you.
902-405-6000. Does that not just put the nail on my point? Does that not put the big exclamation point there that things change and we either the law changes or we forget? Well, we just had 2 different callers talking about the biggest problem that we have in the morning commute, and that's the zipper merge, both with 2 different views on how it works. So if we get recertified every year and you have to, even if it's a written test, does that not just jog the memory? Let's welcome Catherine K. to the program. Catherine, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I'm 87 years old. I still drive.
Good for you.
I live very near a nursing home and senior apartments. There's lots of seniors like myself.
Mm-hmm.
I notice all these tire marks wriggling across the road and messed up. Now, I'm sure it's not one of those dear old seniors is out in the night doing that. So why should all the seniors be tested? I think it's some of our younger folk who are out messing up our roads and speeding at night.
So everybody should get retested is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, good idea.
Fair enough.
If possible, yeah. So don't blame the old folks. The old folks don't do much speeding, and I think they're more cautious because they are terrified that they may lose their license. And I know when my father got elderly, my mother prevailed on him not to drive in town anymore. So when they lived out in the country, so she said, if you lose your license, that's it. So they would get a younger neighbor or person that would go. My father would drive for a while, and then the younger person would drive them in town. And, You've got to go with the flow. If I couldn't drive, my husband's disabled. I've been doing all the driving the last 4 to 5 years.
Right.
And I've got a problem with my car right now, and I need things, and somebody's going to come and take me somewhere, but it would be horrible if I lost my license. I don't know what we do.
Catherine Kay, appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks.
Have
Bye.
a great day. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome first-time caller Lori to the show. Lori, welcome.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to make a little statement about distracted driving. It could be cell phone, it could be talking to your passenger, it could be looking at your kids in the back seat. It could be anything. I think we just have to be more responsible with our driving. And having said that, in defense of distracted drivers, I can tell you the times that I drove home from work, parked in my driveway and thought, oh gosh, I hope those lights were all green. Because I got distracted from my day, right?
Right. No, I
and
get it.
When you get complacent, you take the same route home every day from work, and a long, hard day at work and stress. And I tell you, I've parked in my driveway and said, please, God, I hope they were all green lights, right?
Right.
So common sense is what we need. We need to be more careful. We need to be aware of our surroundings and just don't drive like a maniac, right? And don't be distracted by changing the radio station.
Keep it right on 95.7. Don't ever change it.
Yes, right.
See? I'm helping already.
Care, love. I enjoy your show, and that's the only way I can listen to the Blue Jays game or the Moosehead game because I don't have cable, right?
So
thanks.
I'll tell you, Lori, you'll be able to listen to the Blue Jays on Friday night at 9:00.
I'll be there, hon. Take care.
Cheers. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues after the break. While we got jam lines, I've got all kinds of emails, and we've only got a few minutes left, so we're going to try to get through as many as we can. I got a number of emails on the zipper merging thing, people sending me diagrams. I appreciate that. People sending me their thoughts on it. People saying that it's not legal and sending me legal definitions on it. And they're long and lengthy, but apparently some say that zipper merging isn't even legal in Nova Scotia. So I think there's some gray area when it comes to that. But I think that I think that all of this discussion, particularly on the merging question, is reinforcing my point this morning that writing a test or being examined over a certain period of time, however long that is a good thing, and it could be safer. It could save a life here or there. Where do we go here? Holy smokes! Let's go to Bob. Bob, how are you? Bob, you're going to have to turn your radio down. I'm going to put you on hold. Come back to you in a minute. Let's go to Greg. Greg, how are you?
How you doing, my friend?
Busy day.
I'm just saying, this recertification, that's happened a long, long time ago. My mother, who lives in Montreal, when she turned 70, okay, she had to get a certificate from a doctor certifying that her faculties are fine, her eyes and hearing and all this other stuff, okay? And then she had to send it into the motor vehicles and to be certified.
Okay.
And I think that's good. Yes, that's good. But again, like I said, I mean, they may take it a little too far as far as I'm concerned. I mean, one caller said what about the young people? Yeah, look at the young people and the way they drive. I've seen them.
Mm-hmm. I've seen plenty of people in my age group that are terrible drivers, though. So we can't say it's one group over another group, right? So if we're going to do why not do it for everybody?
Yeah, but the measuring stick is that it's the insurance rate that you pay for your car. That's the measuring stick. And insurance companies now, you have too many accidents, well, they'll drop you as a
they put you in the facility market, whatever it's called, where it's
facility market, exactly, and then you really pay.
Right.
But again, I don't know if it's a good thing. And I know one thing: I'm moving next year, so I won't be here anyway. So I think it's somebody else.
We're gonna miss you, Greg.
Yeah, like a hole in the head. Funny.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Where are we here? Let's go to Richard. Richard, how are you?
Hi. I've been advocating for this for years, but I think it has to be a national approach with the federal government for every province. The provincial government can't do it alone. And the amount of disrespect with everybody is appalling. Look, Yeah, I've been pushing for this for years. If you do, everybody at the very least should have a defensive driving course every 5 or 10 years. And it would entice people, to do it if you saved on your insurance, had to get a deduction on your insurance. If you didn't do it, your insurance goes up.
That's a great point, Richard.
There's too many privileged drivers on the road. They blame everything or feel that they're privileged. And not only drivers, pedestrians too. Walking, there's all kinds of things that create traffic, not just they're blaming everything on cyclists. There's sidewalk patios from the restaurants, people walking when they're not supposed to walk.
Jaywalkers.
In the crosswalk, the hands up, not to walk. They walk, or the lights even red.
I understand where you're coming from.
And,
yeah. Okay.
And people merging, like you mentioned a while ago, Josephat Drive, going on to Barrington Street. Instead of merging over they're going to the bridge. They'll wait till the last minute and force their way in, and it backs everything up. And same thing, Fairview Overpass. They're coming out of there. There's 10 cars to 1 coming from Bedford Highway and going across a solid line, forcing their way in. Again, there's too many people that feel that they're privileged to do as they please. And the disrespect is appalling.
Richard, appreciate the call.
Yes, I like your thought. I'm 100% with you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Holy smokes, Ron, you sound like you're in a wind tunnel. Are you in the car?
Yeah, I am. Dan, how are you?
I'm well. What's going on?
I'm actually running through the Bedore Lakes right now.
Okay.
Through Big Pond.
Okay.
Home of Rita McNeil.
There you go. Way up there.
So, so just listening to your, so I'm listening on the Seeker app, which is awesome.
Appreciate that.
To some of the points that you're trying to make, I think education 100%, more, not so much as far as the recertification. I don't think that matters too much. A piece of paper isn't going to prove that you're a good driver. I think you definitely need recertification, more education, obviously, right? Some of your callers, some of the comments that people are making, you can see how much there's differences of opinions, right, especially with the zipper merge thing, stuff like that. So people definitely need more education. I think one of the big things, though, that we really do need is enforcement. Either handing out more summary offense tickets or a visual. I live in the Annapolis Valley, actually, and in my subdivision, I'm in an area where just past where you turn into my subdivision, it goes from 50 to 80. Well, we had the police sitting there, 4 months ago, something like that sit in our subdivision at the end of the road and watch as cars go by, and they were handing out tickets left, right, and center. So for that week that they were there doing that, it was amazing how the traffic slowed and stopped, right? Everything kind of went back to normal. But you take that away, it took 2 or 3 weeks, and everything was right back to normal. People doing 40, 50, the 80 in the 50 zone. They're ramping up in the 50 to get to the 80, and they're coming out of the 80, still doing 80 in the 50. And, if there was more enforcement, more visual police officers sitting in their car watching for these kinds of things, I think things would slow down. The zipper merge, I'm pro zipper merge. How it would be possible that it's illegal. It doesn't make any sense, right? You go to a single lane, you're backing the traffic up 3 miles compared to having it backed up a mile when you do a proper zipper merge. And one last thing, these people who sit in that single lane and see another guy coming up that left lane so that they can do a proper zipper merge, and they pull out to try to block you from getting up closer to the area where you can merge in. It's insane. It really is.
And dangerous. Absolutely.
100% it is. So anyway, that's my rant. Great show.
Thanks, Ron.
Good job filling in for Todd. Thank you.
Drive safe, Ron. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The last word today goes to Alan. Alan, how are you?
Not too bad. Yourself?
What's on your mind?
you had a couple of callers there that you mentioned had opposite opinions on the SIPR move. Unfortunately, they're both right and they're both wrong. They're half right. I'm concerned about it, and so I read the Motor Vehicle Act in Nova Scotia, and the Motor Vehicle Act in Nova Scotia states that you are supposed to get over to the flowing lane as soon as you see the things and not go to the end and turn over. So it's against the SIPR law, or the SIPR motion, but I don't know that it specifically states that SIPR motion is illegal. Simply, it states that you're supposed to go over. Personally, I think that's a wrong approach, and the reason I think it's a wrong approach is because you end up doubling the length of your line. You're moving cars, for instance, whether you have the construction on the Bicentennial, where you head for the Sackville turnoff and whatnot. You move traffic that's going past exits and whatnot. So you're blocking everything up. If you go and use the SIPR motion or the SIPR maneuver, I don't think it's any different. The first caller on that said, well, everybody comes to a stop. You don't have to come to a stop. Whether you're merging 250 meters before or 50 meters before, the construction zone or whatever it is says to go to 80 and you merge. If you go to the end and merge, that should be just the same. It's a matter of courtesy and people understanding the laws. The last caller said there's differences of opinion on it. It's not differences of opinion, it's differences of understanding.
Alan, I'm out of time, right up against the break. I appreciate it. Appreciate you all for calling today. Wonderful open hour. We'll do it again tomorrow. Until then, thanks to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. Be well and be kind to one another.